Hi everyone, welcome to my channel where I do regular book readings. Not so regular because it's been a little while since I've been on, but I am doing a book reading, a chapter reading from my book Freedom of the Soul, Fly Like a Bird. Woohoo! As some regulars might know, I am a life coach. I've been around for a little while, so I'm talking about the law of manifestation, which is about creating what you desire in your life and overcoming hurdles, obstacles, and making sure that you focus and attract that which you want into your life to build a positive life. So today we're going to talk about the whole of you. There are 6 principles in my framework which I've covered off quite a few times. So I'm not going to do that now because people have all that information from before. So let's jump right into the book reading. The whole of you. And I like to start with a quote. We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that. So by allowing myself to journey through my experiences and my relationship with others, I gained a lot. I permitted myself the indulgence of what the French refer to as errance, where you lose yourself by escaping to unfamiliar places or allow yourself to just dream. In fact, I would say this was my saving grace at times because it really allowed me to set free my latent creativity. May work for you as well, because that's something that's frowned upon by mainstream society, I would suggest, especially if you're not gaining something straight away. I remember one of these errands, I was traveling on a road trip through Northern California in the beautiful town of Calistoga, where the springs are located. And I was romping about in the pool as the sun was setting. And there were this pretty regular couple, American couple, who were in awe of the fact that I'd taken more than 2 weeks off to travel. And secondly, that I was roaming about alone with no set agenda. How beautifully scary that is to some of us. How wonderfully reckless and irresponsible of me to up sticks, sell my possessions and leave my job and country, because that's what I did. I went over to the US to go wandering in search of something better for myself. I had to fragment myself in order to reach a wholer me. And this was really in truth what I was searching for. I had to really reach out and feel the inner corners of what I had lost in myself. You may have to shrivel internally to take note, to go from freezing cold tundras to burning hot plains, to experience the changes that you require when you can see different places and different people. It's going outside of your comfort zone, but is actually really, really liberating. I was eager for fresh plains. With my muscular tongue, I grasped at everything fervent to know it. I write poetry in my writing. My curiosity outweighed my fear, and at times was like the tusk of an elephant's trunk. It cut anything I encountered from jumbo size into smaller pieces. I was so bloated with the magnificence of my awe of being set free that everything became magnified in my experience. Like the prey on the hunter's trail, I was super sensitive to my surroundings and the adversary, mistrust and panic. And your senses could be heightened. Your ears rotated to detect sounds from all directions. Your sensitive nose picks up the whiff of the enemy. You keep an eye on who is watching you with your elongated pupils that swivel and have wraparound vision. You build up a range of superlative acceleration, which is invaluable if you are caught unaware. You see, you have to learn at the hint of danger to run tiptoe with your streamlined limbs, honk with kicking hooves and thrusting horns, pumped. the primal in you would ensure that you stay safe in these new adventures, and that you love every minute despite your reservations of where it might be leading to. I personally did it anyway, like the animal I am. Even in the unfamiliar, I marked out my territory. I sprayed the ground so that it reeked of my own hormones. On full gallop at times, I rushed through my obstacles with titanic force and impact. And you too could get the inevitable shots of the excitement of the unknown as you flex up, absorb the shocks, and we size one another up. The pointed tips stabbed into flanks, ridged horns adorned with war paint, interlock as chisel-like teeth fight for survival to see who could reign victorious. And as you win the battles of your own insecurity, you find the hole inside yourself and become healed and whole again. You know, it was never a level playing field. I was definitely outnumbered. But I revelled in the challenge, leaving behind a dust storm as I rode through my confrontations. And the ones that stand in your way, you will now see what they were about. And you will in truth forgive them. They were just playing out their part. You see, it does always come down to a parallel about greed in many ways. What do you mean greed, I hear you ask? Well, we're all greedy to hold on to the familiar. We're greedy and we're scared of the unknown and those that pursue it. We live in a society that asks you to follow sheep, just as everyone else does, and we fear stepping out of line. We fear being different. It becomes a problem for those of us that stand out. We must take the harsh blows that are hurled at us for being outside the box. As I've said, all love begins with an act of unkindness. It's the way of the universe, the way of nature, of God, so that you can build yourself up, lift yourself up to new levels. It's called a labour of love. And some of us, the daring and the audacious spirits, must be brave enough to lead the way for others too. So the greediness is like when we fall in love with one another. We are scared of being exposed and open. We have to hold on so tightly before we are able to let go and trust that the other one will treat that love well. And in that process, much cruelty and hate can go on. So we struggle on, making our sculptures out of books, contriving many ways to avoid squaring up to this truth, of facing the difficulty of not knowing what the next step could be. But it takes, my friends, a leap of imagination and boldness. And that's what I did, and you will always be grateful. I was, for in truth I saved up my soul, and I opened up doors that I had only dreamed of. I too hope for your sake that you find this place. Rather than shrugging your shoulders and accepting a replica of a life emerging back into the murky shadows of the metropolis. Hardships often prepare ordinary people for an extraordinary destiny. And why shouldn't you be extraordinary? We can all perceive ourselves as decent human beings with kind man conflicts and merely susceptible to all sorts of emotional hooks. But I'm happy to tell you that it will require a little bit more effort than that. Much hurt and pain is purported in the world, and to others on the shores of this shoddy premise. You're okay where you are, and so why would you venture anywhere else? And hey, while I'm at it, why should anyone else? And I'll judge everyone else from that vantage point too. When we become too virtuous, we become locked in our judgments and they become flawed. We should endeavour to be wary of those who envision themselves to be on the moral high ground where everybody else is hunched up on the low. Be brave and step out of your comfort for God's sake and have courage. Take those steps. I dare you. It will feel like your life is over and everything you worked for has been warped. But eventually, what is written for you is the composition of a whole new you. Points to remember. We are all greedy. We like to hold on to the familiar, and we are scared of the unknown and those that pursue it. Look at the world we're living in. We're moving into 5D. We fear being different, empowering ourselves, looking at concepts. We live in a society that asks you to accept and follow sheep-like, just like everybody else is doing, and we fear stepping out of line. Take a leap of imagination and boldness. That's what I use to change my life for the better in the long run, and I know I've reaped the dividends. What changes do you need to make, short and long term? Be brave and step out of your comfort, for God's sake. Have courage. Take those steps. I dare you. Do you encourage your dreams, or do you just stash them away? Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful day. Happy New Year. And I'll be tuning in here soon. Bye for now.